Hi, Michelle Uta here. So the topic I will be dealing with today is the cell cycle, specifically mitosis. And just a little bit about the cell cycle. It is the process in which cells grow and reproduce. The cell cycle is vital in order to heal certain injuries um, and for cells not to get too large. And I'm dealing specifically with mitosis. Um, and not to get confused with meiosis, mitosis at the end has two diploid cells. And mitosis, of course, is dealing with somatic cells. Meiosis deals more so with like germ cells. So I am going to go through the phases of the cell cycle. The first is interphase. And there are stages to interphase. There's the G phase, the S phase, and G2 phase. And interphase is the stage which cells grow, carry out cellular functions, and replicate, which means, basically making copies of DNA in preparation for the next stage. And the stages of interphase, as I mentioned, were G phase, S phase, and G2 phase. So G phase is the cell growing, and it's carrying out normal cell activity and preparing to duplicate DNA. S phase is is the cell copies its DNA in preparation for cell division. And G2 stage is the final preparations of divisions of the nucleus. So for mitosis, mitosis is the stage which the cell's nucleus and nuclear material divide, and they divide into four substages. And the stages of mitosis are prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And then after that, we have cytokinesis. And that's not to be confused with meiosis. And that stages are prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. So basically, to break down each stage, prophase is the longest phase. The cell's chromatin tightens into chromosomes, which are shaped like an X. And you'll see in my drawing, well, I tried to shape each one of these chromosomes into an X. Each half of the X is called a sister chromatid, and those are structures that contain identical copies of DNA. Sister chromatids are attached at the centromere, and the spindle fibers form in cytoplasm. The nuclear envelope seems to disappear, and the centrioles move to the opposite poles of the cell, which have aster fibers coming out of them into like a star-like appearance, which is a spindle apparatus. So near the end, the spindle fibers attach to the sister chromatids of each chromosome. This ensures that each new cell received one complete copy of DNA. So the next stage is metaphase. And in metaphase, sister chromatids are pulled along the spindle apparatus towards the cell center and line up in the middle, as you can see by my diagram. And this ensures that the new cells have accurate copies of the chromosomes. And then after that comes anaphase. That's the third stage in mitosis. And the microtubules of the spindle apparatus begin to shorten, and they're pulling at the centromere of each sister chromatid. And this causes the sister chromatids to separate into two identical chromosomes. These chromosomes then move to the poles of the cell. And then that brings us to our final phase, which is final of the four stages of mitosis, which is telophase. And telophase, what happens here is the chromosomes arrive at the poles and begin to relax. Um, then two new nuclear membranes begin to form and the nucleoli reappear. And the spindle fibers disassembles, and finally, separation and reformation of the new cells begin. And that takes us to cytokinesis. Sometimes people confuse telophase with cytokinesis, but cytokinesis is different because this divides the cytoplasm. Um, and in animal cells, microfilaments constrict or they kind of pinch the cytoplasm. In plant cells, a cell plate forms. Um, so those are the phases of mitosis. And I wanted to, I know this is just off topic, but I wanted to add um, just a little bit about meiosis, even though I was focusing on mitosis, but I just wanted to make these points clear about the differences. So in meiosis, that's reducing the chromosome number by half through separation of homologous chromosomes. And in mitosis, we're dealing with sister chromatids. And meiosis involves two consecutive cell divisions called meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And this occurs in the testicles and the ovaries. And it differs from, body cell division because this involves, sex cells. And going back to the two consecutive divisions, so mitosis only has prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And then, cytokinesis as well. But meiosis, the steps are prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. And also, after that, it's prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, and telophase 2. So I can't think of an easy way for you guys to remember the differences, but just remember meiosis, sex cells, has two parts to it. So you got to do the prophase 1, blah, 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 and also you have to do the prophase 2 and, all those steps as well. So there are two cell divisions that go on, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And in mitosis, you don't have that. So I hope that clarifies the difference between the two. And also, again, meiosis is dealing with germ cells, and mitosis is dealing with somatic cells. So I hope that clarifies the differences between the two. And I know for me, it was quite difficult, differentiating between mitosis and meiosis, but